Hello, friends. Thanks for joining me today. Today, I'm going to tell you a story about barefoot prints in the snow. I'm glad you came to join me today, and I am reading this out loud for you because I love to listen to audiobooks, and I am hoping to show you some photos too because I love photos and any visual kind of information I can get. So, the setting is southwest Minnesota, and it's 1938. So first of all, I'm going to tell you something about what's going on where I live today. Today, I live in Duluth, Minnesota, and all my life, just about, except for a few months or years here and there, I have lived above the 45th parallel. Okay, here we go. Last week, even though it was technically spring, it snowed. One day, there were several inches, and my husband used the snowblower, and by Saturday 5th, a full 2 weeks and 2 days after the vernal equinox, we received a light sprinkling. A couple of years ago, I purchased special slippers to wear in the early morning to put my dog outside in the morning. Because I have to walk out and hook her to a tether, I wanted something warm enough to go outside with her in the dead of winter without putting my boots on. So I bought slippers made of leather on the outside and lined with fake fur on the outside. Well, anyway, when I saw this light dusting of snow this past Saturday, I thought, I bet I can make a barefoot print in the snow like my Grandpa Meinhardt must have seen in that spring morning of 1938. So I took off my slippers and stepped onto our deck, which leads to our sidewalk. I purposely made the best barefoot prints I could make. Since it was the backyard, I didn't think anyone would notice, but my husband went outside shortly after I made the prints. "Did your feet get cold?" he asked when he came inside, but he never asked why I would do such a thing. He probably thought our dog had to go really bad and I wasn't dressed properly. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you a story that I plan to include in my manuscript about the time Russell, my grandpa, woke up in the morning and saw bare footprints on his porch and sidewalk. Jeanette went to nursing school and had great empathy for those with mental illness. This may have been where some of that empathy began. Here we go with the story. Bare footprints in the snow. Most mornings, Winifred and Russell got up before the children in the winter. They made sure the house had warmed up before waking the children. One morning, late in the spring of 1938, Winifred and Russell were awake and getting dressed when they thought they heard a noise on the front porch. Their bedroom was just steps away, but by the time Russell reached the door, no one was there. A light dusting of fresh snow had fallen on the ground. His eyes swept over the porch and sidewalk. He saw the prints belonging to a barefoot human on his porch. His eyes surveyed the neighborhood, and he saw a woman on the sidewalk near Hanson's house. "Russell, where are you going?" Winifred asked. And I'm going to show you a picture of what Russell most likely saw. He probably saw this. These are footprints I made on Saturday. I had so much fun making them. And then didn't get too cold, but if I was walking around the whole neighborhood like that, I probably would. Okay, so that's most likely what Russell saw. Russell, where are you going? Winifred asked. She stood at the door and watched as Russell walked toward the woman. He extended his hand toward her. She wore a light sweater over a house dress and a kerchief on her head. Her lips were turning blue, and she was shivering as Russell brought her in the front door. Mrs. Grine, Winifred said. She recognized her name. You're so cold. Let me put you into my bed so you can warm up. Mrs. Grine silently followed Winifred into the bedroom and got into the bed, and Winifred pulled up the covers up to her chin. Russell walked upstairs and poked his head in Helen and Jeanette's room. Breakfast is ready, but come as quickly as you can, Russell said in a soft voice. Your mother and I invited Mrs. Grine in, and I don't want you to scare her. He then walked over to the boys' bedroom and told them the same thing. The woman was small and looked bewildered. She lived with her husband and grown daughter, and at times could be heard screaming. The townspeople knew her screams were not due to maltreatment. Her screams scared people. She had mental problems and was never seen outside the house. Because Russell told the kids not to scare the woman, they stayed in the kitchen and ate the breakfast Russell had prepared. Jeanette tiptoed into the dining room. From there you could see into the parents' bedroom. Jeanette saw the woman standing on the bed with her feet in a pan. Oh, no, she wasn't standing on the bed. Jeanette saw the woman sitting on the bed with her feet in a pan of warm water, and Winifred on her knees washing Mrs. Grine's feet. The scene reminded Jeanette of the story of Jesus washing the feet of the disciples. Then Jeanette got her coat and cap to go to school, and I'm going to show you a picture of Jeanette. This is a picture of what Jeanette looked like in 1941, and so she's just a little bit older in this picture. Here's a picture of what her sister Helen looked like. In those days, girls wore dresses every day, especially if they were going to school. And here is another picture of what their school looked like. It was a nice school for a little town like that. Although they did have to combine grades, every room had at least 2 and sometimes 3 grades in it. And I've got one more picture to show you. This is another picture of Jeanette. And she told me that baby doll's name is Sally, and that's her dog, Heidi. And I am guessing that this is actually a spring photo, even though you can see the snow in it. We always have snow in the upper Midwest in the spring. Okay, and now back to the story. So anyway, Jeanette left with her mother. Last scene she remembers of her mother washing this lady's feet. And then she got her coat on to go to school. When she got to school, people around town already knew that the Meinhardts had brought Mrs. Grine into their house because they'd seen her wandering. Weren't you scared? Said one of her classmates as she reached the schoolyard. No, Jeanette said. More kids gathered around the coat room, wanting to know about the woman and if anything scary had happened. Mrs. Grine was such a delicate-looking woman. Jeanette wondered why were people afraid. After the kids left for school, Russell walked over to the Grind's place to tell Mrs. Grind, Mr. Grind, that his wife was at their house. He also told Mr. Grind to bring shoes and a coat. Years later, Mrs. Grind was sent to St. Peter's State Hospital. Her daughter was so quiet and hadn't been out in society, so she got a job in the state hospital to be near her mother. And then I have a pull-out quote, and it's like, whenever the daughter came back to Avoca to visit, she would say, "How's Mrs. Meinhardt?" And then I have another, oh shoot. I have this I want to show you, and I included this in my Substack. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, I hope these aren't reversed for you. It's reversed for me. It says, people may not remember exactly what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So, visiting a cemetery in Avoca, Minnesota in 2014. Mom and I visited the Faith Lutheran Cemetery, also known as Faith Cemetery, during the summer of 2014, and we found the Grind family headstones. Now, this was during the same time when we buried the ashes of Mom's brother, Jim, when we were down there. And we took time after Jim's burial to go and walk around Avoca a little bit. Now, this cemetery is near Lime Lake, where Mom and the rest of the kids went swimming and fishing. It's away from most of the town. We took a trail to get next to it. Mom once told me a story about walking with Aunt Nina and playing a prank on her by jumping off the little dam into the lake. They were surprised when the town priest walked by, so they quickly stopped giggling and tried to act normal. You know how it is when you and your family are acting goofy and someone outside the family walks by. If you remember Aunt Nina, you may recall how she loved to giggle. In doing this research this week, I realized that St. Rosa of Lima Catholic Cemetery is adjacent to the Faith Lutheran Cemetery. I didn't take any notes as Mom and I walked on that summer day, and I always wondered what that priest was doing walking on a trail in the park in the 1930s. Well, he was probably visiting graves. Well, let's get back to a more somber part of the story. As we walked in 2014, we saw many headstones, and Mom knew just about everyone that was buried there. And we saw Mrs. Grind's headstone. And I have included a photo from Find a Grave. It's a website, and a woman named Char Larson took that photo. And there's her. Oops. There's a picture of the headstone. And yesterday I saw that the daughter's name, you can't see it probably because it's so little. There's another name right there, and that's the daughter's name. And I'm wondering if the daughter isn't also buried there, or if her ashes are buried there. Okay, and then now I have another little section, and it's called the Asylum Projects, because I was so curious about poor Mrs. Grind got sent to St. Peter's. And so here is a photo that I took from the Asylum Project. And this is a group that is chronicling and archiving asylums all over the world. And this is St. Peter's Asylum in St. Peter, Minnesota, which is in Nicollet County. And let's see here. And they say everyone throughout the United States and in many other countries has, in one way or another, felt the touch of these institutions. These places have both directly and indirectly affected people and their families. They have shaped lives and created many popular myths about them. With this in mind, this site was created to help the historical research of any institutions that can be classified as an asylum. It was created for both serious researchers and for those doing genealogical research and people with an interest in asylums. And so once again, I'm going to show you this picture of the bare feet. And think about that woman walking around. And while you might think, oh, wasn't it wonderful that Winifred and Russell brought her in, I'm thinking the other neighbors saw her walking around and they just let her walk. And most of my book is about the idyllic times that my mother grew up in. And this does seem like a heartwarming story, but it wasn't always. And then I usually end with what I'm reading. And okay, so one book I'm reading is called Old Turtle, and it's considered a children's book, and it's written by Douglas Wood. And the church that I go to, in anticipation of Earth Day, brought this man in because he's a musician and an author. And it's a great children's book. It's marketed as both a children's book and as an adult book. The illustrations are by Cheng Ki, and I butchered that man's name, but anyway, he's a well-known watercolorist that lives in Duluth that just died this week. And the other book, and oh darn it, I do not have that book here, but the other book I'm reading is Broken Fields, and it's written by Marcy R. Rendon, and the book takes place in the Red River Valley in the 1970s, and I was a teenager in the Red River Valley in the 1970s. And so I just love listening to the places and how she describes them. It is a murder mystery. But anyway, thank you, my friends, for listening. And feel free to comment and ask me any questions. Until next time, bye-bye.